Well, good morning, everyone. Or if you're on the East Coast, yeah, I guess it's still just turning lunchtime for you around noon, so I get 9 Pacific. My name's Woody Adams with Intuit. I'll introduce myself a little bit in a second. I just wanted to thank you for attending today's session, Feature Spotlight, QBO, and Float. Float's a great cash flow forecasting app, and I'm going to bring in Harriet Stevenson from Float. We did this a couple years ago together, so she's still with Float and back, and really grateful to have her on. And she's going to dive in through her product after I do a brief, overview of reporting and some best practices.
Hey Woody, thank you everyone so much for having me. It's been great to join you guys. My name's Harriet. I'm on the marketing team at Float, and I've been at Float for just nearly 4 years now. So we've done a webinar before with Woody, and it's great to be here. And I will be talking you through how Float works as well.
So, real quick overview, and we're even going to discuss Advanced just a little bit. We hope to have some QBO Advanced webinars probably in September. We're probably going to run like bi-monthly as feature sets and more add to QBO Advanced. But let's just align, because in QBOA you're going to manage like self-employed clients. We know there's not a whole lot of reporting with self-employed. There's like 3 reports, a P&L and a couple tax reports, summary and detail. But you'll still have some clients. You can manage them in self-employed. But really for small businesses and double entry accounting, chart of accounts, things like that, and all the transactions available in reporting, it starts with Simple Start. So QuickBooks Online Simple Start, it doesn't have any accounts payable, right? You can track vendors, but no AP, right? And it doesn't have some other things you're going to see when we get to Essentials. But still, you might have some Simple Start clients. I always contend that most of your clients on QuickBooks Online are going to be on Plus, because Plus is most akin to QuickBooks Pro from a feature set, class tracking, two-sided items inventory, job costing, things like that. But still, I know Stacy and I use Simple Start to track expenses and revenue from the QBO show. So we use this. So it's still a viable level. It's just 44 default reports, right? Mostly around income, expense, and sales. You'll have a basic P&L balance sheet. And though there is a trial balance in there in a general ledger now, and it does 1099 tracking, right? So I wanted to mention that. So very basic and just one user. Right? Of course, the firm coming in through QBOA, I mean like your client. Now, Essentials, just to align on reporting there's, 33 more reports. This might be a little dated, but it's going to be 77-ish. And that's mostly because of accounts payable and because it's supported there, as well as some reporting around recurring transactions and automation and data entry. That's what brings us up to those reports. And there's like a P&L detail and a few other company financial reports that Simple Start would not have. But remember, all 4 versions are going to have a trial balance report and a general ledger. I just wanted to mention that because Simple Start used to not have that, okay? So if you have a client that really doesn't need accounts payable tracking and they're really simple, I just want to make sure that you can put them on Simple Start, right? You'll still see it in your client list in QBOA. So, but again, core reporting that we know from like desktop, I don't mean customization approach, I mean just all the reports, most akin to QuickBooks Pro, because we're all using QuickBooks Accountant Edition on the desktop side to manage Pro Premier clients. Well, really it's more Plus, right? Plus has 100 plus reports, right? And remember, when you're going into the client file from QBOA, you are limited to the level, at least for reporting, to the level of, and feature set, to the level that your clients have. It's, when I go into a client file from QBOA, it doesn't mean I have extra reports. I have like 2 extra ones, around an adjusting journal entries report, and there's an adjusted trial balance report. Other than that, it's whatever reports that, Woody has on QBO Essentials, okay? But Plus has 100 default reports, and that's because we enter time activities, though Essentials has that too. Budgeting, though, location and class tracking, we open up inventory, so there's a couple inventory reports and a little more item-based reporting. And there is report-only users, right? View only, where they can't actually edit the data. They can drill down to it, but they can't actually edit the data. That's also in Plus and Advanced. Now, so again, most of you probably have clients on Plus because that's what all these 5 for $5.25 or multi-co promos are, or you're just used to that because it's a similar in feature set to Pro. Okay, so I usually start here, and that's the level I'm always in when I'm doing demos, and certainly for today, for 10 minutes, I'll be in there going over reporting. Now, when we finally get around to doing an advanced webinar, we have videos on it though, so you can check it out. But Fathom is a third-party app that we connect to from QuickBooks Online Advanced. So QuickBooks Online Advanced is Plus, like Plus, right? So same number of reports, but it has this smart reporting with Fathom for KPI and dashboards and things like that. But it's backwards looking, where Float is more cash flow forecasting. Fathom can do, consolidated reporting, or you might call it roll-up reporting. You can build out your own reports, kind of has a report writer in it, if you will. And again, but its real benefit is for advisory services, KPI, right? And looking back on KPI metrics. So, and there's about 8 different, you can create your own accounting or non-accounting KPIs as well, right? Integrates with desktop, QBO, and Excel. So that's already just built into, or you launch it from the reports area of the advanced subscription level. So above Plus, right? Simple Start, Essentials, Plus, Advanced now. Advanced has some importing of transactions like invoices, and I think we're going to build out more feature sets there. A little bit better on user permissions around a sales user being able to make a deposit yet not be the all user, stuff like that, right? And I think we're going to build more and more into QBO Advanced like that. But essentially at its core, it's QBO Plus, right, from a feature set standpoint as we build more into Advanced. But really the big differentiator for me with Advanced now is the Fathom piece. But we'll have that another day. I think we have a feature spotlight with Fathom in a couple, 3 weeks. And Harriet was just saying they were just talking or something. So, I mean, they work together, because, again, what Fathom doesn't have, and neither does QBO, and I'm about to prove that, but where Float comes in, right, is the cash flow forecasting and looking ahead, right, as well as some other things too, right? So enables you, so Float, this is what we're focused on today after I just go through product a bit, but it enables you to have more proactive conversations with your clients. So again, advisory services sets you apart from the competition. Meaningful and accessible cash flow insight. Builds visual, accurate cash flow forecasts and dashboards, what-if scenarios, things like that. And then some of their exporting ability and insightful reporting. So, and budget to actual, which is cool. So I forgot that they do that as well. So we're going to look at, Harriet's going to dive through Float. But to begin, let me just go through for like 10 minutes some best practices around reporting in a QBO Plus file, and then I'll hand it over to Harriet. Any questions, by all means, ask in the questions box and go to webinar, right? And I'll get to them as soon as I'm done here. So I wanted to mention something. We go over this in the client file accountant best practice, this report tool. This is a toolbox you guys have, right? You have some cleanup tools, things like that. But this report tool, just as a side note, even though this reporting and tool default feature does not impact all reports, and certainly not a lot of detail reports, for the company financial summary reports, it will. I can set a default where we can look at last quarter, in a cash basis, right? So the balance sheet, P&L, and a couple other reports will open to this default. And this is something you do within each file, right? I can't just set it once and any other QBO file on my list, it will open. That would be sweet. But still, this might help when I go to reports and I can dive into a profit and loss. That's going to show last quarter, right, and a cash basis. Right. So let's look at the P&L now, because you will see on a cash basis sometimes it's unapplied cash payment income, or on the expense side it'll say unapplied bill expense or something like that. Usually payments that aren't linked to invoices, or the payment date is before the invoice for whatever reason, we still have to put it on a cash basis P&L so everything balances behind the scenes, right? The debits and credits behind the scenes. So you might see it and it might not make any sense. And I might be comparing to a previous period dollar change, right? And I have that, but I want to drill down and see, because see, there was none between January and March, but between April and June, I have this. Let's see, Cindy, are you able to see it now? I would try to reload the page, because you're the only one that mentioned you can't see it, but I want you to definitely be able to see it. But I know sometimes there's internet buffering and things, and so as far as I know, we should be recording. You guys are hearing me well, and I am showing the screen, but sometimes when you hit the reload icon in your upper left, and that does help sometimes, I notice. So let me know. But I don't want to lose my place in this report, right? So just so you know, remember, because you might be used to multiple windows in desktop, right-click the tab you're on before you go and drill down to get to the detail, right? So now I can drill down and see the unapplied cash payment income, okay? And this could be a much larger report. Say you're on a P&L detail, or you're in the transaction detail by account report, or any detail report. I just wanted to mention as a best practice, I know we don't default to account and balance, right? We default to, we default to amount balance, not debit credit. But at any time, you guys could add these two columns. When you click on the little gear icon, the little gear icon is going to be on any list, usually any report, but it's particularly effective when you're on a detail report. Summary reports, you don't have as many columns. You don't have as much filtering ability. But the detail report, when you drill down from the balance sheet or P&L, you just click on the little gear icon, it opens up all the available columns, right? But add debit credit. When you step off, it'll match that. And then say you want to, when you're done customizing or whatever, do save your customizations, right? I'm just going to put this for, I know there's not a lot in this report. That's actually good. Usually I see more of an amount with this particular client in this unapplied cash payment income. So I've tried through training and whatnot, but that's okay. This is a very acceptable amount that I have to clean up later today. But anyway, this is like memorizing reports, right? And Don, I see your comment. That's great. So let me answer that in a sec. But when you're quote unquote memorizing, you're saving your customizations. We call it the same thing in desktop, but still, it's not like the memorized report list. But do add it to a group if you want. You can add it to any kind of group, create your own groups, and I'll explain why later. And then you can share it with, just other members of the firm. Like if Harriet and I are part of a QBOA, only she and I would see this, I probably wouldn't bother the client with this one, honestly. But all would be anybody that could see that. But firm only would be QBOA team members. So you can really isolate reports too when you save them. And when you click save, then the benefit is when you go back to the report list. And again, I have two tabs open. So do that. Right-click, duplicate the tabs. Right? You shouldn't be hitting the back button and stuff like that. But you have custom reports, okay? And then I saved this one. This is a one from right there, transaction report, right? So basically it's a memorized report list. The benefit with having a group, though, is if it's supported in your state, compliance-wise, you can set a schedule to automatically send reports out to. Okay? They're not encrypted. They literally go as a PDF or a spreadsheet. You can choose at the bottom, and most people do a PDF. It's just attached to the email from QBO, from Intuit servers, to your whoever is on the email, the to line, right? So you can do some, that's really the reason to put it in a group, either visually. I mean, most of my reports are just not in a group, right? But some that I do send to people that don't have access to a particular QBO file, right? That's why I add into a group, so I can auto-send. But it all depends on your state and if you're allowed to do that. Now, Don said, any plan to allow custom date ranges in the report tool this year to last month is an option. So yeah, I know, right in this one, this year to last month is a date range option when Dawn's just on a P&L or balance sheet or whatever, and she can save that. But what she means is the report tool, this has kind of, we didn't put it here. So I know of no plans for that. I would just go to gear icon, send feedback, Don. I have not heard of that one. We are working on other reporting stuff that should be impactful for accountants in reporting in QBO, specifically around customization. But I can't really give an ETA or things like that. But some of the older things with the GL and stuff that we're working on, right? But this one I've not heard of, but I always think of that too, right? This year to last month you'll see on a regular report drop down, but not in the report tool. But still, remember, report tool and defaults, it impacts just a few reports, mostly company financial summary, but it also impacts the batch classify tool as well when you clean the stuff up. Might make it just faster dancing around the product, So a little bit on customization. Remember, detail reports, as you'll see, we'll go back to standard reports. For instance, like I can search up here, transaction, detail by account is a great example. Again, the amount balance column, remember, right? Change that. Get rid of stuff you don't need and then add debit credit instead of amount balance and save it. That's just the one thing I find that I see friends do, and it's just helpful because that's what you're used to, not amount balance but debit credit, right? And then you save that and rename it, okay? So this. Let's see, a couple other things in the reporting that I wanted to show, and then I'll hand it over to Harriet. We do have management reports, because right now the footer, right, the endnotes only impacts the last report page. So if you have a multiple page P&L, but you have to put your SARS 21 blurb at the bottom, like no CPA has, et cetera, then that, it's only going to show up on the last page, but you need to see it on the bottom of every page. So I usually get this question though in November, December, but still, I was showing a firm the other day this, and it was impactful, so I might as well mention it. The management reports, which is not a report writer, you're just building against these templates. We give you 2 templates in every file, basic company financials and expanded, right? And you're going to edit it, and it really just is a report package, like firm logo or no logo, cover title, subtitle, report period, so a few extra fields you wouldn't see just on a canned report. And then, of course, preliminary pages, we build out a table of contents for you. The reports, if you don't like the order they're in, right, you can choose to add to this package from all the ones that are customized or just A to Z, well, 1099 to Z, I should say, right? All the different reports that you want to have as part of this package, right? So there's that. But this advanced tab at the bottom, right? This is where I can put a default header or a default footer, okay? And that's going to be left indented. I can't really move it around, but it puts it on every single report page. And then when you print it out, it just shows, you save the template, right, for later, and it just has a package, right? Management reports, table of contents. This is if I was giving it to some particular entity, so a little more professional looking than just say, what a canned report would have, some different fonts and bolding. But notice at the bottom you would have your no CPA has, and just goes out there, and it's like 3,000 characters long. So I always mention that because you're going to run into that. Where do I put stars 21 or no? How do I get it on every report page bottom? Because the footer in QBO, at least at the current time, just shows up on the last report page. So there's that. I wanted to mention management reports, and I think I failed to do that last time. It can come into play here, right? And we're finding that the clients aren't using this at all. It's mostly firms, and for what I was talking about, right? Now, let's see here. Don, oh yeah, good. I would like negative numbers to appear in brackets, normal. There is some of that coming. I know it's on the roadmap, but I don't know when we're doing it specifically. She's asking about, negative numbers showing up. I know right now we have, negative numbers. You can bracket them, and you could show them in red. So there is that. But you just have to click the drop down. But I don't know what else we're doing with the numbers. But I know we're working on some customization stuff from a reporting standpoint. Yeah, for sure. And then you see mine like that. Okay, real quick, and then I wanted to show you a couple things. There's some new reports, a few new reports. And then I'll hand it over to Harriet to dive through Float. We added a bunch more P&L canned reports, and certainly Plus and Essentials would have that, not so much Simple Start. But we did do this on both sides of the fence, and I mean AR and AP, invoices and received payments. Right, so now I can see the payments and what invoices a payment pays. And that was something that before, you couldn't. And there's even a workaround in desktop using like some detail report. I forget what it's called. Check detail report, I think, and change the filtering for detail level or something to all except summary, and it would show that. But this is way easier. I have these canned reports now, invoices and received payments. I also have bills and applied payments, so I can see the bill payment, right, and then what bills or bill did it pay off. It's so helpful. Because I had a friend who was spending like hours doing this in Excel. So, and then like the next day we rolled this out in a product. Stuff like that, the little things. For progress invoicing, we do have an estimates and progress invoice summary by customer. That's new, so it helps with the project tracking as well. We also added for payroll, if you have payroll turned on, because forever to get to the payroll summary of desktop, you'd actually use the payroll detail report and then do summary by employee. But now we have a truer payroll summary by employee report if you have payroll turned on. And the columns and rows now match what you'd have in, say, desktop. So if I was doing like last year, and you can even do the hours for them, it would show my employees, and then it shows, the items on the left as rows, and then the columns above for employees. So truer visually to the payroll summary if you're using like enhanced payroll for accountants in desktop, right? So that was a long time request. So I want to make sure that was in there too. You knew that. And then finally, I don't think I have it in this file, but regarding sales tax, We did add a non-taxable sales column if you're using the new sales tax module to the sales tax liability report, as well as a whole host of new project tracking reports. When you're in a project itself, I'll be doing this Wednesday, tomorrow, project tracking in a plus file or advanced. You have project profitability, which is basically a profit and loss can for the project, and then a time cost by employee or vendor. So literally I can see the cost of the time. It's a prognostication based on time entry, whether it's coming in from T-sheets or whether I entered it in the time entry forms, right, under the plus sign, single or weekly timesheet. But it flows here, and based on the hourly cost rate at the vendor employee record, which is an input field too. I'll show you that tomorrow if you guys are coming to the Beyond the Basics webinar, where we spend most of our time around project tracking. But the nice thing is I can see the total cost against the project, right, before it's going to payroll. So just some new reporting stuff that we have been adding to QBO. I want to make sure you're aware of. And then remember that the QuickBooks Online Advanced has the Fathom piece in there. So we are doing a feature spotlight with Fathom in a few weeks, and we got some videos on that. If you need that, by all means, send me a message or something. But Harriet, that's pretty much all I had for just an overview reporting, and give you plenty of time to go through Float, because that's why we're really here today. And I'm going to record, and I'm going to change the presenter to Harriet now, and then if you want to share out, and I'll let you know when you're good to go, I'll field any kind of questions, or when I get a good segue to ask Harriet a question, I'll go ahead and anything you want to ask regarding Float, cash flow forecasting in their app, by all means, ask in the questions box, and then I'll wait for a good segue to ask. Yeah, I can see your screen right now. It looks awesome. Thank you.
Excellent. Great. Thank you so much, Woody. So today I'm going to be talking you through Float and how it helps you and your clients understand the future of their cash, which is super important. So why are we here? Why does Float exist? Well, most businesses are still flying blind when it comes to financial decision making. And the reason for that is that it has historically been incredibly time consuming to build a forecast from scratch, often in a spreadsheet. And the reason, and that is really the reason that most businesses still aren't really understanding their future cash or looking into it. But as we all know, that then leads to problems down the road for the business. So that's why Float exists. So Float is visual operational cash flow forecasting and management software for QBO. So what's in it for your clients? It is going to help you and your clients understand the health of their business. So I will go into a full demo just to let you know, but I'm going to just run through some benefits. So it gives you the information that you need at a glance. So this is our snapshot overview page, which gives you some key information right as soon as you log into the app. So that will save you a bunch of time. It is easy to understand and visual. So really at the heart of everything that Float does is we're thinking about the end user. It was initially built by Colin, our CEO, who used to run a business. He ran a creative agency, and he found it very time consuming to create a forecast himself, and he just wanted to find something that was visual and easily updated and didn't exist yet. So that's why Float was built. So we really want you to feel comfortable using Float and then handing it over to your clients if you'd like them to get involved. We want you to kind of feel comfortable with that. So we do not try and kind of overload them with too much information. While of course they're complex under the hood, we wanted to make it simple kind of to use and to use every day. So we help you explore multiple different what-if scenarios. So you can go in and say, if these few things change in the future, what would that look like for their cash? Which is something that a lot of our users find is really their light bulb moment with Float, is being able to map out really easily what the future could look like. We'll help you have a look at upcoming invoices and bills, keep track of those. So Float is unlike some of the other cash flow tools in that we import all the invoices and bills from QBO every day, as well as the chart of accounts and the all the transactions that happen as well, and any journals as well. We help you explore multiple different budgets versus actuals as well. So you can go back into the past and say, okay, we'd expected that this client would spend X, but they actually spent a lot more. Why is that? You can then drill down into what the budget was versus what was paid, and sit down with your clients with your advisory hat on, and see how they can improve that. So that's that. And we'll help you dive into the daily view of the business's finances. So as I mentioned, we really care about the detail. So we want to help you be able to drill into a specific day and be able to understand what are all the transactions happening on that day, or even that week or month, and be able to show your clients that information. So I'm going to just dive into a quick demo of Float. So bear with me 1 second. So Woody, can you let me know if you can still see my Float screen there?
Oh yeah, I see it.
Great. Okay, good
Sure.
stuff. So here I am in my Float demo. So I'm going to just go to our overview tab, which is, you did see a screenshot of that just a second ago. So this is going to give us, as I said, some key information. So we have the current balance in QuickBooks, so the cash balance there, the number of bank accounts that we're including, so we can click on there and pick and choose which credit cards or bank accounts we'd like to include. The reason you may not want to include something is it could be a savings account that your client doesn't want to factor into the actual forecast, so you have the control over that. And then along the right-hand side, we have some key kind of panels here, which is telling us if there's anything that needs to be followed up on. So invoices that need to be chased, or bills that your clients owe that are past their expected payment dates. If you clicked on these, it would take you through to those specific areas of the app. And then down below, you get the progress towards the end of the month. So we'll tell you how many days are remaining, and then the progress towards or beyond their cash budgets. So for us, we're pretty much still on track to make those budgets there. And then here we have our short-term cash flow view. So this is showing us the next 3 months. And in that time frame, the lowest cash point. Below that, you get the net movement, so what has happened in the past 3 months, and then what's expected in the future current month. So if you clicked onto any of these, it would take you through to that area of the app. So this brings us to our cash flow tab. And if you haven't seen Float for a year or two, you may notice it looks much different to the last time you maybe saw it. We have changed it a lot. We have improved it a huge amount in the past, I'd say year to 18 months. So I would definitely encourage you to come in and have a second look if you're interested. But yeah, so this is our cash flow tab. So this is where all the forecasting happens and where you can see the longer term forecast. So we can use these arrows to navigate forward into the forecast up to 3 years ahead. And you can view this line on a daily, weekly or monthly basis. So this just changes the way the line looks. Days obviously is going to give you the granularity of the day-by-day ups and downs throughout the month. You can see the past 3 months on this graph as well as the future, and this line here is a combination of the bank accounts and credit cards that you've chosen to include. And what's making it go up and down, that's 2 different things. So that's the invoice and bill expected payment dates coming through from QBO. And the other thing is the cash budgets that you or your clients enter into Float. So all of these numbers here, these cash expectations, then affect this forecast. And we will help you in setup to kind of predict some things for you there as well. So before I go into forecasting, I wanted to show you our invoices due area and our bills to pay. So invoices due is the obviously the invoices that your clients are owed, and bills to pay is money that they owe. So you can see a couple of things here. You can see the total outstanding figure of those. So that's how much we're owed, and then of those, how many are overdue. So none of them are past their due date, so that's good, but a few of them are past their expected payment date. So if we scroll down, we can see this bar graph is telling us when these different cash amounts are expected to come in. And if there's anything in red, that's telling us that it's past its expected payment date. So if I scroll down, I can see there's a few of these invoices in red that Float's telling me I need to take action on because the expected date was in the past. So just to explain the difference between due date and expected date, the due date is coming in from QBO, and that obviously can't be changed in Float, but what we can change is the day that you or your clients expect that invoice to be paid. So that can be based on your or their knowledge of that client's paying habits, and then or their best guess, and they can just click on and say, I'm going to push this forward by 7 days. I've sent them a follow-up email. I'm going to hopefully get paid next week. You can push that forward by 7 days. 30 days or to a specific date. And if you wanted to, you could select multiple. So I might say I'm going to just search for all of the ones from my client Akila, and then click that, and then just say set expected date. And this gives you the ability to add a number of days onto the due date. So you can say, this client actually always pays 30 days late. Let's add 30 days on to those, or even 60. So then we can apply those new dates, and they've moved forward for us on that graph, so we can see that cash has changed. So then we might just push these guys forward as well by a week, and then that is meaning we don't have any past expected date invoices, which is important, because if there are any in Float, then Float thinks that that's going to get paid today. So if there's anything in red, it's saying the cash is coming in today, which obviously may not be the case. So it's important to come in here and update that. You can also click onto these and actually get the view of that specific invoice. So that's going to give you the date it was issued, the date it was due, the invoice number, and so on. And you can, if you want to, split this into part payments. So if they have a payment plan set up with your client, you can divide that up really easily, whether it's by value or by percentage, and then you can put different dates on those part payments as well. So I'm just going to cancel out of that. You can see as well here we have a couple of ones that are excluded. If you want to, or your clients want to, they can choose just to not factor in a invoice there. And the reason they might do that is because they might just not know when that client's going to pay. Maybe they've been chasing them for a while. Hopefully not, but maybe they've gone out of business. They might just want to not factor that in. And that doesn't delete anything in QBO, so it is always just a one-way import from QuickBooks. We don't ever change anything in QBO. So if you wanted to, you could always re-include that. So that is invoices, and then the next thing is bills to pay. So we've been pretty good. We don't have anything outstanding in terms of being overdue for our bills, but you can do the same exact things here. You can change the expected dates, you can ignore things, and you can click on them and divide them up as well. So we'll just close that. And I did show you briefly, but you can search by client here as well, and you can filter. If you had a long list of these, you can filter by just the ones that are past expected date or overdue or draft or any of these filters. So once you or your clients have come in and then updated the invoices and bills side of things, that's when the forecasting comes in. So I'm jumping back to my cash flow tab, and I'm going to scroll down below this graph to show you the chart of accounts. So that's coming through, again, straight from QuickBooks. Anything that you want to exist in Float needs to already exist in QuickBooks if you're talking about accounts here. So we've divided them up into cash in and cash out. And you can see we have a couple of groups as well that I've made myself. So you can expand these out and see the individual lines within them. So it's just basically just making it easier to view this table. You can manage those accounts here in Manage Table Layout. You can add the accounts in from QBO, or you can group them together as well. You can create groups here. So on this table, we have, just like on the graph, we have 3 months of history. That grows up to 6 months of history on a rolling basis once you've been using Float for 3 months. And you can expand this out to see what has happened in the past. So we see the two numbers here on this in the cell. So the number on the left-hand side is what actually happened, and the number on the right-hand side is the expectation. So we were pretty close in June. We can see that actual paid was $21,000 from all of these bank transactions and invoices. You can click onto those and get more information. And we can see what the budgets were. So the budgets in Float are cash expectations that you or your clients enter in. So these are all the different budgets that we've set up ourselves. You can create new ones as well in here. So that is what happened in June. You can expand out the past May as well. For instance, in May, you can see that we actually didn't quite make that budget, so we were $7,600 under budget in May. You can navigate between the months using these arrows. And if you wanted to move forward on the graph and the table itself, you can just use these arrows and that will move not only the graph but also the table. So that brings us to the current month. So we have, so far, you can see this progress bar, 14,000 of 23,000. We can click on here and get more information. So we have 5 that have been paid and 2 that are due. So they're expected to be paid in July. And the important thing to know is that their due date may be a different month, but the expected date is July, and that's the date that we take. That's when we think that cash will move. And then we have some budgets. So you might want to budget a few different ways. You can just set a lump sum for sales in 1 month, or you could divide it up. So you could say, you could divide it up by client, you could divide it up by day or week or project. It's really up to you. But just to show you, we can create a new one, call this client 1. Maybe that's 5,000 this month only. But you could also have it repeat. And then if you do choose to have it repeat, you can have a few different repeating options here as well. And then you can choose what date that this is expected in by. So I'll put it for the 27th. And then if we go back, once it's loaded, you can see client 1 is just added up there. So what's happening with all these cash budgets is they are totaling up to this monthly total. And then once the invoices and bills come in, they begin to fill that up. So it's almost like an empty placeholder that fills up throughout the month with invoices and bills. So the important thing to note is that it's not going to double count. And that's why you see the progress bar here. It's not like this 14 is going to add on top of this 28. It just becomes part of it. So hopefully that makes sense. So you can do budgeting that way by clicking into the cell in the month that you want. Just clicking in.
Harriet, I had a question, if that's all right.
Oh, yeah.
How far out does Float support, like forecasting?
Up to 3 years. Yeah, 3 years ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can it also budget and forecast for balance sheet accounts, or is it just profit and loss?
It is just cash. So any cash movements that are expected to happen in a balance sheet account, then definitely. But it is, it's not a P&L budget per se. It's it's just cash.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. And yeah, that is an important point to note. And the reason why we do just a cash flow forecast is to make it easy for your clients to understand. I think oftentimes clients can look at their P&L and think that they're at least on paper profitable, but as you know, oftentimes that isn't the case if they don't get paid on time. So we want to try and break down the barriers to them just to really understand that, and that is why Float is fully cash-based. So yeah, the second way of entering these cash expectations in is by using the spreadsheet input function. So that's this little button just above the table. If we click on here, then we can copy and paste from outside of Float. So say you already have a forecast worked out in a spreadsheet and you don't want to spend time entering it into Float, you can just copy and paste it. So you can grab a line. I can imagine this is outside of Float. Use Control-C, Control-V, and just paste it in. And it's as easy as that. And the one thing is, though, with this, if you do use the copy and paste thing, it's going to choose the first of the month as the payable date, and it's going to have a lump sum for that month rather than dividing it up. But what you could do is use that as a starting point. It's great for things like rent and your electricity bill and that kind of thing, where there's just one payment per month. And then once you've done that, you can go in and refine it. So spreadsheet input is great for giving you an accurate starting point. So it will choose the first one of the month, as I said. So you might go in and see. I'm just going to see if there's one that's been added from spreadsheet input. So yeah, this one was been put on as the first, but we can click into that and actually just change the date if we wanted to for this and all future months, and then that's going to update that. So the forecasting side of things is something that you have the control over. When you first sign up to Float, when you add a client, we will give the option for us to give you a starting point, so to look at the historical data and push forward an expectation of future cash movements based on the past 3 months actuals. So that is a good option if you're happy with that, but I would then recommend that you go in and refine it to be what you think it could be, because obviously Float won't necessarily know if there are future projects down the line that are going to be different from the last 3 months average. But as I said, it is definitely better than a blank slate. So yeah, so that is getting the forecast set up. The last thing I wanted to mention on that is the tax side of things. So Float does not automatically calculate upcoming tax. So what you want to do is put in a cash expectation for that. So in the UK, we pay a thing called VAT. So that's where we have a quarterly budget in there for 5K. We can then go in nearer the time and update that to be what we expect it to be based on what our accountant's telling us. So that's just something to be aware of. But yeah, so that's the forecast now set up. So what?
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Valerie asked, does Float support deferred revenue, cash flow, and budgeting?
And by that, do you just mean cash that's going to come in later than expected, or how?
Yeah, you're deferring the revenue to another period or future period, unless, Valerie, you can expand on that. But yeah, that's what I'm assuming.
So we'll show you the cash as coming in when it has come into the bank account. So you can't really move it to a different time. And I think that's more of an accruals-based accounting where you assign that cash to the month it's for, almost, rather than the month that it's paid on. So in Float, it is based on when that cash moves, if that makes sense. Cool. But yeah, let me know if that needs any more explanation, Woody.
No, that's good. Thanks.
Great. So then I wanted to show you our scenario planning, as I mentioned that earlier. So the scenarios live in here. So there are a couple of ones I've made previously. So we have this new second location scenario. So what we did here is we went in and we just increased our rent cost. So we clicked in here and we just said new location, 5K more a month, and this is the result of that. It may be a little bit more complex. We may start to see more sales as a result of being in a different location, probably a higher electricity and heating bill, that kind of thing. So that's something, you can make it as complex or simple as you like. You can see when I went in and changed something, it has turned to the color of that scenario. So this one's gone pink. So that is a pretty basic one. We have a new employee scenario. So what we did here is we can see that this is actually a new salesperson, I believe. So we've had an increase in sales as a result of that. And we also are going to be spending more on employee costs. So we've increased our spend on all of these different areas, especially wages. So we can see that coming in there. And as a result, we can see that obviously the sales are increasing. So this is paying off. And there we go. We have also one for losing a client. So this is obviously not ideal to happen, but if you wanted to see the impact, if your client's lost one of their clients, you can go in and see, you can click in and just say exclude. So they've excluded a couple here. To do that, you just click in and click exclude. It's really easy. And obviously things are not looking great as a result of that. And again, we can move forward up to 3 years to see the longer term impact.
Hey, Harriet, this is a really interesting feature of Float. I did not know the lose a client but really my question is, can you create your own scenarios that would then impact your forecast? Okay, so lose a client is just one you created, but I could create like other stuff too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's nothing.
Scenario layer.
There's nothing. Yeah. So these are all ones that I made myself, and I named them. But yeah, we don't want to give you any preset ones because it is really unique to the business. So just to add a new one, when you first log in, you won't see any here, and you can just click Add Scenario Layer, give it a name, and give it a color. And then it will give you a blank slate where you can then go in and change anything. So it's looking like the lines are the same. You can then go in and change anything that you like. So you might just say new scenario, budget, this in all future months, and then you can just see the impact of that. So it is super easy to do. But yeah, the one for losing a client is easy as well. So again, I'll show you. You would just click in to the month and then just say, I'm going to exclude this month only, but I'm going to choose all future months. sorry, my Wi-Fi at the end of the day is a little bit slow. There we go. So we can see that's excluded. And then, yeah, super easy to do. And then you can always delete them as well. So I will get onto this in a minute, but yeah, as a Float partner, accountant or bookkeeping firm, each of your clients would get 10 scenarios available at any one time. So you can remove them as well from here and add ones in. So that is scenario planning. Just with my remaining time, I just want to quickly show you daily breakdown, as this is the detail side of things. So we have, here you can set the date range. This can be really anything from the next day to the next 3 years, but I think it's more useful in the short term. So I'm looking at this next week. The starting cash, you get the ending cash, what's coming in, what's going out, and then the net movement. So I can easily see what's happening this week. And then if I scroll down, I can obviously see the day-by-day balance, and then all of the things that are set to change in this time period. So whether that's cash in, cash out, and then the impact on the available cash. You'll see a bunch of these remaining budgets. That is for anything that's not yet been taken up by an invoice or a bill or a transaction that you expected to happen. So you can see a lot of them are for the 23rd of July for today's date. So if you had set, or your client had set a budget for the first of the month and actually that didn't happen yet, no cash came in or out against that, it gets rolled forward to the current day up until today's date. So that's what you can see there. You can click into these and get more information as well. And from here you can also exclude budgets. So say things have changed and you actually don't think that a certain thing will be paid, you can easily go in and exclude that budget. But you will also see actual invoices and bills here. So if you went into the past, you can go back and see what has changed so far this month. So all of these are actual transactions. And then finally on Insights, we have a few reports, and I won't get into all of them just now, but I think the most interesting one is budget variance, which I mentioned earlier. So you can see the difference in here between what was expected and what actually happened, the cash difference and then the percentage difference. So this is going to allow you to take that kind of advisory approach and sit down with the clients and say, you know, it looks like you're actually really drastically you're underestimating how much you're spending, or you're actually receiving less than you thought you would. Why is that? Let's drill into that. So that will help you be proactive as well, which is something that obviously lots of businesses are looking for in their accountants and bookkeepers. So yeah, I do have a couple more slides around our partner program, so I will just jump back to my keynote really quick.
No, that'd be great. One question from Stephanie, is the budget versus actual and float only available if you're using Plus or Advanced with QBO? But
no,
you're creating it from float, not really pulling it in from QBO, right?
Yeah, so the budget is in float, but as I said, you could use that spreadsheet input function. If you do have a budget in QBO, you could export that to a spreadsheet and then make it cash focused, and then paste it into float in spreadsheet input, which will then give you what you need.
Awesome.
But yes, the budget versus actual is available to any level of QBO. Great. So what's in it for you? Hopefully I've covered some of this already, but it's going to help you save time and make cash flow an affordable service. So because our integration with QBO means that we are importing all of that data, you don't have to then keep the spreadsheet up to date. In fact, there's no spreadsheet required. And that will mean that you'll be able to, if you wish, to create a cash flow forecasting service that is more affordable than you would have been able to do before, because now you're not spending hours and hours on it. So that's something that you could offer to more clients. And along with that comes the ability to open up a new revenue stream with cash flow forecasting as a service. So this is an example. Simon Kalu, he is here in the UK. He uses Float with a bunch of his clients, and it's helped him create a more attractive virtual FD plan, which is his highest plan. He uses Float as a draw to that to move people kind of up the value chain up to his higher pricing. And it means that he can now truly outsource the whole finance department. And finally, it will help you differentiate your firm and put advisory at the heart. It will help you have proactive conversations and help you try and take on more of that advisory role. So Hilary Dyson is another one of our partners, and I really like this quote. She said, "We believe our value comes from our experience and our knowledge, not how many hours we bill. We now work much more closely with our clients as trusted advisors, using tools like Float to help them grow and prepare for the future." So yeah, I like that. So if you'd like to become one of our partners, I'd definitely recommend you check out our partner program. So it gives you a free license for your own firm. There's actually no risk to it because we don't bill you until you add a client. So you can test Float out for free for as long as you like. And then once you do add your clients, we will give you a 30-day free trial for your first client. And as well as training for you and your team and a training session for your clients as well. And because you guys are on this webinar, I wanted to offer you a bit of a discount. So if you sign up by the 15th of August, we'll offer you 50% off your first paid 3 months of Float. So if you would like to redeem that, if you could just email me, harriet@floatapp.com. And I believe Woody's going to pass on your guys' emails today as well, so I can just always follow up with an email with that offer as well, just so it's all laid out for you. But really the benefits of the partner program are really great. As I mentioned, you get increased functionality and that free account, so it's really worthwhile doing. And if you did want to check out the website, we are at floatapp.com and then /partners, and that's us. So I wanted to quickly cover the pricing. So I have USD and Canadian dollars. So the first client that you add to Float is $59 a month if you come to Float directly. We have different pricing for QBOA. And then if you add more than one client, though, the price of that goes down. So 2 to 4 clients is $39 per client. So we want to give you the pay-as-you-go option to be able to give you the chance to test it out and not require you to jump straight to a high tiered plan. But then once you are ready, if you wish, you can join our bronze plan, which gives you 10 licenses for the price of $200 a month. So it's a good deal at $20 a license for that. And then it just gets a bit cheaper the further up you go. And then this is our Canadian pricing. Oops, sorry. Oops, did I skip Canadian? Oh, I will send that to you guys.
I think it was just US, yeah. Well, I think most of the firms here too, Harriet, will be US based for today. So this works perfectly, yeah.
If anyone has any questions on the Canadian pricing, do let me know. But for QBOA, we have one price of $55 US per month as well. So if you had 1 or 2 clients, that's probably a good option there. So yeah, were there any more questions?
No, I don't see any. I just really thank you for coming today, Harriet, for sure. This is great to see a deep dive of Float. And again, you saw Harriet's email at floatapp.com, and then Woody_Adams@intuit.com, and I can always forward it along if for some reason you know, I'll make sure you get with Harriet for sure.